Hi everyone. So once you have your pie piece totally colored in, you're gonna make your circle template and you're gonna use this template to line up your pie piece so that it's repeating 8 times and that's fully formatted to fit a circle. So the way to do that is first check your artboard size and double check that it's 15 inches by 15 inches. So you want to go to your artboard on the right hand side. If it's not open, remember you go to Windows, you go down to Artboard, you check it, and you want to click on the icon and make sure it's 15 by 15. And then you want to go into your Layers panel. What you want to do is click the icon for Create New Layer. And for right now, let's just lock our layer 1 and let's call that pie piece. And let's toggle it so it's invisible for a little while. And layer 2, let's actually call that circle. And that'll help us keep things a little more organized. So to make your circle, let's first bring up your rulers. If you don't have rulers visible up here, like I don't have them visible, go to View and go to Rulers and Show Rulers. And now what we're going to do is make a circle that's 15 inches across. You want to go to your shape tool, and if you don't see the circle, just remember click on this little link and go to the ellipse tool. And when you draw your circle, this is important, make sure that you hold down shift so your circle is perfect. If you don't hold down shift, your circle won't be perfect. It'll be a bit of an oval and it'll be incorrect for the project. You can see in this bottom right corner it says 12.667 inches, so that also gives you a little bit of help to know the size of your circle. And now I can take it and I can reposition it on the artboard so it's centered in there. We don't want any part of it going off the artboard. Move it a little bit to the left. Okay, and that is in there. If you don't see a circle, just double check that you actually had a stroke or a fill in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make the stroke black and I'm going to make my fill see-through. Because I don't really need to have a fill for this right now. But make sure if you made a circle and you don't see it, check your stroke and check your fill to make sure you have at least a stroke. And your stroke can be any color. Mine's black, but yours can be any color as long as you can see it. And now what you want to do is you want to go to these rulers and you want to make some guidelines. Guidelines are ways that you can divide up your artboard. They won't print, they're not part of your artwork, and they can get deleted later, but they're a way for you to mark up your artboard to know where to put things. So if you zoom into your ruler, you can go to, we're doing the center of the circle, so we're going to bisect it vertically and horizontally, and if you're bisecting 15 inches, the half point is 7.5. So you want to go to 7.5, make sure you're right on the half mark, double click it, and you'll get a guideline. The guideline's red because you're on a layer that's using red for the selection color. You'll do the same over here. I'm going to go to 7.5. If you're having trouble seeing the halves, just keep zooming in. And remember, you can use your fingers to zoom in on your mouse pad and double click it. If you double click not on the ruler, you won't get anything. You have to double click on the ruler. Now when we zoom out, we have it divided into quadrants. The next step is to go to your line segment tool. Make sure again that your stroke is a color. You want to bisect all these quadrants because ultimately again you have 8 divisions in your circle, so you want to have it nice and evenly divided so you know where to put everything. You want to hover in the center until you see it says intersect. With your magenta guidelines it says intersect in pink, so you hold shift down, you draw a line, and it'll automatically be 45-degree angle. I'm going to do one over here. You can see that if I move my mouse right and left, my guideline, my line segment rather, is still at a 45-degree angle. Make sure you hold down shift the whole time though, because if you let go of shift, it won't be perfectly 45 degrees. Okay, and now I'm going to hit my selection tool, and I'm going to zoom in, and this is all even, so that's what we want. And now what I want to do is start adjusting your pie piece to make sure it fits into these divisions. So I want my circle behind my pie piece. To do that, I'm going to carefully drag this layer down. Oh, come on. There we go. So now my circle is below my pie piece. Remember, in Adobe, you see what's on top first. So if I make my circle locked and I toggle the visibility of my pie piece, I can see how it kind of fits in there. I want to lock my circle. That's important because I don't want to randomly grab a line segment and move anything. So my circle gets locked. I'm going to unlock my pie piece because now I want to be able to adjust it. And the first thing I want to do is I want to group all my objects. If you have any paint marks, if you add any colors, you want to make sure that everything is grouped so that when you move one thing, you move everything together. So I'm going to draw a big selection over the whole pie piece so it's all selected. And I'm going to go to Object and Group. Just to double check, I'm going to go to Object, and now that group is, I can see it's been grayed out, so that way I know my objects are grouped. And now what I'll do is I'll hover on the outside of my corner and I'll rotate my pie piece. And I'll start fitting it into here. When you change the size of your pie piece, hold shift down so you don't lose your proportions. That's going to be important. I'm going to keep rotating it. You might have to do a little bit of work to get this in here. Some of you might find that you have to warp your pie piece just a little bit. You might have to drag something and not hold shift down just to make it fit. I wouldn't do it a whole lot because it won't look good. But if you have to do it just a little bit to make it fit, then that will be your choice. If that's going to work better for you. Let me hold shift down again so I fix my proportions. It's getting pretty close. I want to keep the moons near the edge of the circle because I like them up that high. I'm going to bring them down just a little bit. And this is never going to be perfect down here by just adjusting it. It won't happen. So, no big deal. What I'm going to do to make this better is I'm going to show you how to move anchor points. I'll show you how to move, and the way you move anchor points is going to be different for everyone. This is how I'm going to fix this issue down here. But I want you to watch how this gets fixed and then apply the solution to your individual issues that you have, whatever challenge you have about moving things so that they are lined up together. Some of you might have to make 2 pie pieces and then line them up because you might need to know which ones go where. I know that these line up pretty close because they were measured. So I'm just going to show you how to line them up to the side of these divisions. So, to move an anchor point, like you can see this object, when I select it with my selection tool, I get everything. But if I select it with my direct selection tool, which is the A on the keyboard, that shortcut, if I click on it with just my direct selection tool, I just highlight this object, which is important. So I want to highlight this outer line, and the anchor points are all these little boxes that are white. You can kind of see them. The more you zoom in, you can see them a little bit better. I'm not going to move every single anchor point. That's not actually necessary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the ones at the top and the ones at the bottom and then delete all the ones between. So this is my top anchor point, and I'm going to grab that anchor point. It's important to double click it because if you don't double click it, sometimes it'll move your whole object. So make sure you double click on your anchor point. And this one kind of sticks out, so I'll move this one over. And let's get one down here. If it goes a little bit over the line, that's fine. And now let's move this white part, or this blue part. Okay, so I have it connected at the bottom, I have it connected in the middle, and at the top. Then we can also connect this one over here. So now you can either go through and move all your anchor points, or you can delete them. One's not really fast with the other, but now that you know how to move anchor points, the way to delete them, in case you like that method, is you come over here. This is your pen tool. That's the pen tool. But under the pen tool is also your add anchor point and delete anchor point. So if you go to delete anchor point, you can start finding all your anchor points and just deleting them. So that moves it really nicely. Let's see, where are anchor points here? So I'll do just one side. This is not super fun to watch. There's some anchor points over here. So I'm just going to do a couple so you can see how it works. And then you can decide how it's going to work for you to move any anchor points in your artwork. Okay, the black line's almost done. And you might notice you get some weird lines where it looks like there shouldn't be an anchor point line here. You'll just have to kind of get a little used to how Adobe works. Sometimes you might find it is better to move an anchor point than to delete it. For this outside line, I think I can just delete anchor points. Maybe for that inside blue area, I'll have to go in and move some and delete some. Might be a mix of both. Okay, so that gives me an improved line over here. And let's go back to my direct selection tool and move over some of these guys. You kind of get the idea. If it's not totally even, if it looks good, that's fine. You can decide how to make it move a little bit. You can also grab these handles that are next to an anchor point, and moving a handle will also move the shape. So that might work as well for some of you. But let's move this one. And this one I'll just delete. And this is another instance where it's a little strange how Adobe divided up the shape. So in this instance, I'm going to actually take this anchor point and pull it all the way down. Okay, so this side has now been cleaned up. You'd want to do the same thing to the other side, and once you have it cleaned up, then you can start doing copying and pasting to make sure that they also line up. And in the next tutorial, I'll show you how to do copy pasting, and that's it.